What are some of the red flags that you may know of a management company that comes up when someone's looking into their services?
One of the red flags is try to find out when you get paid, when you can see things. Don't fill out the background check because they think it's the application fee. It has nothing to do with us. It goes right to the credit bureaus. We don't charge them anything for it. The credit bureaus do. A lot of times tenants do not. They pay on the first week.
There's a wire-in time to go into the landlord's bank account.
Yeah, by the second week you should be paid 100%. Everything a landlord does is based on cost. That would be the primary thing I think you should ask. You have to look at what your costs are to run the place and how much rent that you could possibly get in the area. If all those work out, then it would be an investment for you. Not every place is an investment.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Landlord, Tenant, and Property Management topics today. Super excited, we have a special guest, Linda Pachico from Opportunity Management Company.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm very excited about today because being a landlord myself, an investor, I know there's always things to learn. And also we have a lot of fun being able to provide the value and education to the consumers out there as well. So thank you for agreeing to come on. When I asked you, I was really psyched about it.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure.
Linda, what can you tell me about a property management company? What are some of the things that they do for tenants and landlords?
Well, for the landlord part of it, it removes you from the actual process.
Yeah.
And you just own an investment, and we take care of the day-to-day things and notify you if there's an issue. You tell us what your wishes are. We put that in writing, and that goes towards the tenants. And we do almost all of the talking to the tenants. And then if there's like any issue that comes up that is not in the norm, we would reach out to you so that you're not burdened with the everyday things.
Right.
And little quick things that might be happening in the apartment that might be a quick fix. We could take care of those.
Let's start with landlords. So what are some of the questions that landlords should ask before hiring a property management company?
Everything a landlord does is based on cost. So that would be the primary thing I think you should ask. You have to look at what your costs are to run the place and how much rents that you could possibly get in the area. And if all those work out, then it would be an investment for you. Not every place is an investment.
So besides the cost of it, probably things like what's the term of the the contract, the commitment, right, and things that you would do for that.
Yeah, the specific things that a management company would do. Obviously, we vet the tenants. We go through a process with that. Yeah. We collect the rents, all the things that you should ask us about. Yeah. And all of those are negotiable. There are different ways we do it. And we work with the tenants on trying to make that happen for you.
So marketing the rental unit.
Yep.
Dealing with the showings, letting the people in and out, showing the property.
Yep.
Collecting the applications.
Yep.
Doing the background checks, things like that.
Absolutely, especially nowadays.
Yep. And then once you get kind of I guess your list together, you present that to the landlord.
Yep.
Explain the process, and they kind of at that point the landlord picks who I guess what they want.
Yeah,
right?
when we get all the we'll get a bunch of applications, and we'll get all the background checks put together. And once we have all those, we usually do 3 or 4 of them at a time, depending on how many showings we have. Then we bring that to the owner, and the owner decides who's going to live there.
So once they they get the news, they're all excited. Hey, you got the property. At that point, you'll set up a time to meet them, the keys, and kind of go over, the process of just the unit itself, what to expect, right? What trash bins to use, what parking places are yours. Like really set a good expectations, I should say, right?
Yeah, because a lot of the tenants, when they move in, sometimes the stoves are a little, funky, where there's a certain way to turn them on because they have child locks.
Everything's different.
Things like that. So you have to go through the apartment with them and and give the wishes of the landlord. Of the owner, and go forward with that.
When you place the tenant in the unit, now what happens going forward? You also offer a service monthly going on for that landlord, correct?
Yeah, so once the tenant's in, we have a portal that we'll set them up with, and they contact us through the portal, let us know if there's any maintenance issues. We can address those immediately when they happen. If there's an emergency issue, they get a hold of us. That way, we're alerted as soon as something comes on the portal. And also, we can call them and find out more about the information. And we won't, if it's in the middle of the night, we're not waking you up to tell you anything. Right. We're taking care of it. We'll let you know. If some landlords don't want to know. They don't want to know anything. They just want to see that check come in every month. And that's fine too. We do that. Some want to know a lot of things, so we let that happen too. So we it's a la carte, really,
Right,
for how we do our business.
I mean, as a landlord myself, having long-term rentals and also an Airbnb property, with some management companies, they may ask for like a certain budget that you put on for certain repairs, so they don't have to bother the landlord. In other words, like on my Airbnb property, I would have up to like maybe $300.
Yep.
So if something came up, they could spend up to $300 without asking me. They just do what's needed. Anything over that, they would let me know, hey, this is going to
Absolutely.
cost whatever.
Yeah, we do that, and we set that money amount is different for every single property.
Right.
So a lot of times we'll do $500 to $1,000,
Right.
and anything more than that, we'll definitely tell you right away.
Right.
But that will give us a leeway to fix a sink or whatever, and not bother you about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, and then we also on our portal have you can see real-time results. So if we go out and say we do fix a sink,
Yeah.
and we put the cost on there of what that cost to fix it, it goes on your ledger, so you'll see it, and you'll see the amount and who it went to,
Right.
and what day it went out, and so it's pretty transparent.
Good,
as
and it
far
makes
as-
it good to send to your CPA when tax season
Absolutely,
comes.
yeah.
What are some of the red flags that you may know of a management company that comes up when someone's looking into their services?
One of the red flags I actually personally experienced myself was that the maintenance information never was on the portals or was even in my email. It was never told to me until the rents came in, and then they gave me the rent check minus the maintenance, and I found out right then and there, and
Yeah.
you're already too late to do anything about it, right?
Right, yeah.
And so that's one of the red flags, is try to find out when you get paid, when you can see things. That's why I put it on the our portal right away when we pay for something, so you'll see, okay, Tuesday it was done, and you guys, we collected rents 2 weeks from now, so
Right.
you understand that,
Right.
the way it rolls.
So you're staying ahead of it, which is good.
Yeah.
What do you see landlords underestimate from a property management company, in your opinion?
A lot of times the landlords, especially new ones, expect to get paid on the first, because they're like, oh, the rent's coming on the first, then I get paid on the second or something like that. But a lot of times tenants do not pay on the first, they pay on the first week. Sometimes it's the second or third whenever they get to their bank or whenever their checks are deposited, especially if it's a first on a weekend, then it
Right.
probably,
Okay,
so we're on top of that, and we do go after the tenants and keep reminding them that they need to pay until the payment is made. And then we do provide you with, if a tenant doesn't pay by the 6th, we do send out a notice to quit, just in case.
Yeah.
And they have the right to pay, so if, say, they pay on the 6th, then the notice to quit goes away. But we just start that eviction process right away, so that way, if there is an eviction happening, we don't waste any time.
And then I'm sure there's a wiring time to go into the landlord's bank account, so forth.
Yeah, so it's a 3-day turnaround if they do an ACH payment, which we encourage. And so they ACH it to us. Within 3 days, it's dumped into the account. Once it clears, then we can send it to you, because I don't want to have any bounce
Right.
checks or anything.
So it could be a week or two into the month.
Yeah, by the second week, you should be paid 100%.
All right. Anything else you can think of that they may underestimate or not really surprised about?
Parking issues is always a problem. People will park in another person's spot, and then there might be an issue that way. Or one thing you never do as a landlord is give them your phone number. Somehow or other, that happens once in a while, where they find out your number and they start calling you directly.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. That's a biggie.
I mean, that's why they hire
Yep.
you.
And we try not to let them have any of that information, but sometimes at the beginning, there's a back and forth, and there's sometimes they catch that phone number.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, once you give them that option, your landlords out there, once you give them that option, then they're going to go back to, the next day for a question. And next thing you know, what are you paying what are you paying a property management company for if you're taking the calls and trying to handle it yourself? So it's definitely better not to co-manage, is just let your professional company do their job. And, tenants interact with a company like you much different than a landlord.
Oh, yeah.
But a landlord, they might feel like there's more negotiations. Maybe they can talk to them a certain way. Maybe they're more understanding if the rent's going to be late and things like that. I feel like the landlords are they're more emotionally attached. It's their property, right?
Yeah, it's
whereas
yours. So you get hurt when things don't go right.
Whereas a management company, it's all about business.
Yeah.
It is. It's this is how it goes, and they're going to treat you in, I think, with a different type of respect and a business standpoint, the tenants,
Yep.
versus the homeowner.
Yeah.
Especially if the homeowner doesn't have a lot of experience with, they just have a unit they're trying to rent out for some extra income. Maybe they live there themselves, so own or occupy,
Yep.
and they rent it out, right?
Yep.
So a lot of that happens. We see a lot as well.
Yeah, we just try to keep the distance between the owner and the tenants. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And keep us in the loop and let us take care of it.
Right, because I mean, I have a lot of clients that reach out to me. You know, they like the idea of buying rental income and that passive income, but one of the first things they say is, I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to be a landlord. Even though they've never been a landlord before, they're like, I don't want to be a landlord.
Yeah, it has a negative connotation to
and so
it.
they've had people around them that's had bad experiences, whether they self-managed their buildings, didn't have a professional company, they had bad experiences, and they're telling their friends and family about the bad experiences, and
Yep.
now they're afraid to be landlords,
Yep.
right? And they never get to the point where they're investing in building that wealth through real estate. It's
Yeah,
a
and that's
shame.
where we come in, because we will take care of all that headache, negativity that you're thinking, all that should go away, and you should just be getting a check every month.
Right.
And be happy about that, right?
Yeah, be
So-
the investor, be the property owner, receive the money, let the management company do their job. I'm not a CPA, but I'm pretty sure that their services can go towards a deduction and tax write-off. I'm not a CPA, but I'm sure that management fees go under the expense and possibly write-off categories when they're doing the taxes.
Yeah, it's a business expense.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good thing too. For the investor buyer that's purchasing their first rental property, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see them make?
They tend to get more involved. They want to be they drive by the place. If they live local, they start, calling and saying, hey, they left a toy outside today, and they get very involved in the actual property. So we're just asking them to, treat it as a business, you're going to hire a manager to run your business. Say you own McDonald's, you have a manager, right?
Yeah.
Same thing here. We are going to take over that. We do drive-bys. We go there often in the first month or two, just because the tenants are settling in and there's issues. So we are aware of a lot of the stuff. And then landscapers and plowers, they want everything moved before they come over, and we do call them on the nights of the storms and things like that to let them know.
Yeah.
And we do a drive-by to make sure some of the stuff is done. So if there's a plow job that needed to be done, make sure it really was done. Those kind of things.
So the new investor, maybe they just don't know what their role is, right?
Well,
They
they're
don't-
excited. They
They're
have
excited.
a new thing.
Yeah, they're afraid that, and they're kind of maybe over managing things that, that maybe they shouldn't.
Well, I was guilty of that myself. I used to, I lived very close to my first one, so I did do drive-bys, and I was all that. I had a management company at that point, and that's just exactly why I am a management company now. And I, wanted things run a certain way.
Right.
So if I couldn't get the management company to do it, then I was going to help on it with that.
Right.
And so I can totally see the person that's a first-time buyer being like that. I understand it.
Yeah.
But after the first or second one, then they start realizing how this all works,
Sure.
and they
Yep.
step back.
What are some of the mistakes you see landlords make that self-manage their own properties?
People that self-manage are always trying to look for a deal on the fix-it of things, like get a cheaper plumber, or just put a Band-Aid on things and not maybe fix it completely.
Okay.
Then you run into things continually breaking and
Yeah.
giving that continual headache, constant complaints, and I think that's what drives them crazy. So I would recommend fixing it the right way the first time if you can. It depends on what the problem is.
Yep.
And trying not to run into those million phone calls that you'll
Yeah.
get from the tenants.
Anything else you can think of besides a repair standpoint?
Sometimes getting too involved with the tenants is another thing, because they
personal
try
level,
to,
kind of
they try to be
personal
their friend, and then things happen and it's not healthy. They get phone calls all night long about things when people obviously go out and party, and then they'll get mad at the landlord when they get home because something's not right. They'll call them at 2 a.m. and
So
things like that.
they're not setting boundaries.
No
and
boundaries. Yeah, there's a lot of boundaries that are not set. There's just that constant.
At that point, they feel like they're on call all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then they get so frustrated because now they try to go over there and fix it, and it just becomes a nightmare.
I remember
Yeah.
my dad was a landlord. he had probably like 20 buildings at one point, and they're all in different towns. And as a kid, I remember him just getting up 2 o'clock in the morning and driving to New Bedford, Massachusetts because a hot water tank blew, or he was always getting woke up in the middle of the night and running here, running there, and because he self-managed everything, you know. And he was kind of semi-retired from his carpenter job, so he had the time to manage. It's just really spread thin, trying to do everything yourself, and not setting those boundaries. Now, of course, that is an emergency, but you know, he was always getting those calls, and he, like I said, he was always seemed to be had to make himself available around the clock.
Yeah. So that wears on you, especially if you want a personal life and you have a family at home. So if you want to be an investor and you want to do those kind of things, that's exactly where we come in.
What are some of the mistakes that you see some tenants make when they're applying for a rental unit?
So we use an application, and a lot of times if they fill out the application, they don't fill it out completely, so the application doesn't go to us. It'll show incomplete. So I'll call them and say, hey, did you not want the apartment anymore? Like, maybe did you have a question you were stuck on? And they, you know, a lot of times we can work that out. The second phase of our application is a background check. And I would say 50% or so don't fill out the background check because they think it's the application fee. And it has nothing to do with us. It goes right to the credit bureaus. We don't charge them anything for it. The credit bureaus do. So I have to explain that several times, and they all hear that there's no application fee. So I'm like, well, there is no application fee on this particular one. So I said, we don't have one. We just have that. So once they understand that, then they go through the process. And
you're talking the background check process and the background fee.
There's a background check from all 3 credit bureaus, and a criminal check and an eviction check. There are 3 different things. So the credit bureau does that. And that's where the fee comes in, but it gets paid to the credit bureau. So we don't even see it come in or going. We don't see it. So
if there's some issues and red flags with that, is that where maybe they're not filling out the application because they're afraid they're not going to get the rental?
So I'll ask them why, and some of them will say, well, my credit's in the low 500s or something like that, and I'll say, do you have a reason? Because there's always reasons people get that way. So sometimes we can work with that. If someone was going through a divorce and you can see it on the credit history, like, hey, I got divorced here, and you see their credit dropped, and now they're building it back up. You can see it.
And before that, they had good history.
And they had a great history, up till that point.
Or maybe a medical situation.
Medical situation. There's always some reason. And if they can give a reason and it sounds
transparency
good.
would be key, probably. Transparency probably would be
it's the easiest thing, because if they are truthful and I can see it on the score, then I can say, okay, well, we can make it, well, let's do this instead, and
because you're going to see it on the back end anyhow. So you might as well just be transparent and fill out the application fully and explain the reasons why things are the way they are. How would a tenant, if needed, would they access information about any type of financial assistance for obtaining a rental?
So there's several different programs, and I know about Mass and Rhode Island, so I can talk on them. Both of them have a Section 8 program. Usually the tenants are either filling out an application for Section 8 and waiting to hear back when they start applying, and I can reach out to Section 8 and ask them. Or sometimes there's a caseworker involved. I can reach out to the caseworker and work with them with that. They have to just okay us to talk to the caseworker, and once that happens, then we can usually streamline it very quickly once it gets to that point. There's several programs out there now, so there's even some probably I don't even know about because they're just new. But we work a lot with RAFT, Section 8, seen a lot of that. And those rules are changing constantly, so it's always to keep up with it. They don't have caseworkers anymore in Section 8. They have they have their own individual caseworkers, but they do most of the work, and I don't actually have that conversation with them like I did before. So I used to be able to talk directly to them. I have maybe an email or 2. That's it.
Now, are those state funded state programs like the Section 8, and is that state per state different?
Rhode Island, I think, pays 30% of whatever the rent is up to a certain amount. Massachusetts gives them a flat rate, and then they're maybe, depending on who and what, they might pay a little bit.
And those agencies also have the right to inspect the unit and the property for the landlords, is that correct?
They just changed all the rules in Massachusetts. There's this whole big lead law that went into effect, and then they do an inspection on top of it.
Yeah. What are
So-
some of the things they may look for? Like safety?
Yep, lights coming in and out of the exits, or in the stairwells. They look for, they're looking for the smoke detectors. They're looking for peeling paint.
Okay.
That's a big thing that
Ripped
they
in
look
floor,
for.
like ripped floors
Yeah,
and things like
any
that.
holes in the floors or
Broken windows.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
windows, screens. The big thing now is screens.
Yeah. So
Things
just
like
common
that.
sense stuff, safety stuff that should be
Should
up to
be.
code and working in good shape anyhow.
Yeah, it should
Nothing,
be
nothing
there.
crazy.
No, nothing crazy. No, I haven't found them to be outrageous, but they do try to find something, like they'll, I thought last 2 inspections I had were fine.
Yeah.
So I feel like they,
Right.
we kind of know what they're looking at now, so
Right,
maybe
right.
that's why.
In some cases, the landlords might not even know that they have these things, so I think it's a good thing they go in and they point out some things. I mean, that
Yeah,
to-
it's
to
not a
take
bad
care
thing
of,
because they
know.
let you take care of it.
Right.
So
It's like a free inspection for the landlords too, to make sure that their properties are taken care of and up to par.
yeah, one last inspection that I had was
Or I'm talking about, is it free? I don't know if it's free or not. Like,
What?
like a section 8 comes
inspections?
out, is there
Yeah,
a fee
free.
for that? Okay.
No, it's free. It's a headache for people because they don't know what they're going to say, but
Yeah.
they come in and then they give you a list of things. So the last inspection we had in a new place was they wanted handrails going down into the cellar, which I thought was strange because nobody entered the cellar. It was like one of those no storage cellars, so it was locked.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the door was unlocked at the time the inspector went in, so
Yeah,
he
yeah.
thought it was open for everybody, so he
Right,
made them
right.
put in the handrails.
Right. I can see that. I mean, just like, for us helping people buy and sell properties for like FHA finance and things like that,
Yep.
they want handrails going everywhere. And the way they look at it is like, okay, you're using this property this way today
Yep.
when no one's accessing it, but what if that changes in 2 months from now? Now they are accessing the basement.
Right, yep.
They're going to want that rail in there one way or the other, whether you're using it that way now. So I think they just want to cover themselves, say, hey, railings everywhere, depending on, regardless of how you're using the building, because the usage, as you know, can change over
Yeah.
over time. So what are some options that tenants may have in case they're requesting for some repairs done to the unit, whether it's safety or immediate stuff or cosmetic, what have you? You always hear like the landlord's not fixing this, and this has been leaking for some time. Like, what options do they have if a landlord doesn't fix certain things that they're requesting to be done?
So it depends on how severe the problem is. In my case, you'd put it on the portal, and normally I would just see it come in, and I would dispatch somebody to go out there and take care of it, and then follow up with a check to make sure it was done. There's a lot of landlords that don't do that. I've had a lot of tenants come through saying that they are moving because their landlord won't fix anything, and then they come in and they're very they don't think I'm going to do anything that I say I'm going to do. They don't trust anything, because that's the environment they came from. So I would tell them if they've asked several times to put it in writing, and if they don't get any response from that, then they can either fix it themselves and take it off the rent. So what you can do is have someone come in, say it's a sink, right? So they come in, they fix this leaky sink, and I don't know, say it's $125 for the guy to come and fix it. You take the receipt and you send it to the landlord and you just pay the difference of that. They can't really argue that because you've asked several times, you didn't fix it. If it's something different though, if it's a cosmetic issue and they don't have to do it because
Right.
it's not, then it's different.
Yeah.
You can't just buy shades and expect the landlord to pay for that.
Right.
So that doesn't count. But if it's something like that you're substantial that you use every day, like a sink
Right.
or toilet or something,
Sure.
then that's needs
Going
to,
back to safety, if there's anything that's going to potentially cause a fire,
Yep.
if there's a leak.
Yeah, you want to fix water leaks
like
because
that.
they just get into all kinds of other issues.
How about pests? If there's any kind of pest issues,
That's a big one these days. Bed bugs, roaches, things like that. So if they start in one particular room or apartment, then we'll work with the person, hire the person, get it fixed right away as soon as we hear about it, and then that tenant is charged because it came from that house. If you're living in a 3 or a 6 unit apartment and there's several units that have it at once, by the time we find out it's got a few people going on, then we hire the people to come in right away and
Right.
fix it as much as, right away.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that to get out of hand. And then we'll find out where the problem started. Whoever the pest control person is can give us a heads up on that. And then we go into that apartment and make sure that everything is cleaned up, everything is done. They have services out there that actually do that. And then once that is all set, it becomes a landlord issue because it's several apartments. And, you know, then we'll let the landlord know this is what's going on and we needed to fix it so it doesn't get everywhere else. And we'll try to work it out as best we can. If the tenant is willing to pay a little bit, that's fine, but usually they're not. And so the landlord will take that over.
If a tenant doesn't have the funds for a first, last, and security that a lot of landlords do ask for, are there other options for them to still get into that unit? Is there any kind of assistance or maybe payment plan or some kind of creative way of, you know, helping them get into that unit if they don't have all the funds right away?
Yeah, so a couple of things can happen. There is RAFT program in Massachusetts. Rhode Island I don't believe has it.
So check with your state, wherever you are.
Yeah, so check wherever you are, whatever programs you have. But Mass has it's RAFT, it's rental assistance, and it's up to $7,000 at this point, and they can get first, last security out of that. And if there's anything left over, they can use it towards rent.
Okay.
So depending on what your rent is, you can use that. You have to apply for it and you have to have a need for it. And I don't actually know what their safeguards are because it's all changed in the last year.
Right.
But a lot of people have come and applied for apartments with the RAFT application already approved.
Okay.
So they're pre-approving them now. I don't know exactly how they got that pre-approved. I've never seen them until this year. So that's a new thing. But I've had to put in 3 people recently with all pre-approvals, and RAFT wrote the check. They got in and paid first, last, and security. Some people don't have that, and they want to just they want to get into the apartment. And I can see by their credit check that they have a great credit score. So say they have a 700 credit score, they pay all their bills, they just don't have the funding, they don't qualify for RAFT.
Yeah.
So we might work out a payment plan with them and have them pay first and security. And obviously this is going to be approved by the owner.
Yep.
But and then make payments towards last month until it gets totally funded.
Yeah, it makes sense. So it's good to have different options. So makes sense to me. Yeah, excellent. So that's so tenants. If you're looking for a property, maybe that's something you reach out and ask about. If that's something that hasn't been explained to you, or if you're kind of in that situation where you'd love to move into this unit, but you just don't have all the cash and funds, and see if maybe there's some creative ways where you can pay part of that over a period of time to get that accomplished, right? Linda, what can you tell me the difference between a tenant at will lease and a 12-month lease? What's the differences there?
So we have a year lease that we usually lease everybody up unless there's some change by the owner. If it's been suggested to do a month-to-month lease, which is it's a regular lease, but you just have you're on a month-to-month. So basically, you have to give a 30-day notice.
Yeah.
On a yearly lease, you can give a 60 or 90, depending on how it's written up, if you want to get out. But also, it's up to the owner if he wants to let you out of that lease.
Okay.
Because you might say that I want to get out, and it ends up being in January that you want, and that's a kind of a poor time to lease, because it's just no one's looking to move at that point. So what do? We say no. Right? And then they have to stay until whatever March when the market opens up again. But that's really up to the owner because you did sign a lease. You know, we don't want somebody to stay in an apartment that doesn't want to be there. So we will encourage both sides to get an equal agreement there. But ultimately you have to do what's best for the owner. Yeah. That's who we work for.
Yeah. Now, do you represent tenants at all either? Is there someone that represents tenants in place in them?
Not really.
No.
I represent them once they're part of the team. I represent their rights to be in the apartment and stuff like that, but I don't necessarily.
Okay.
I do have the, if a tenant comes to us looking for a place, we have multiple places.
Right.
So I will represent them and show them the one I think is what they're asking for.
Yep.
That way, but.
And some of them may hire real estate agents to help them on the rental part too.
And they can fill out one application for us, and it'll go for every one we have.
Right.
So it's not, I don't have them do it each one for each apartment.
So depending on the lease, there could be a kind of out period versus some don't have an out as well. Like, you know, when people come and buy properties from me, I say, you're in a lease. They're like, yes. I said, well, do you know when your lease expires, or do you have an exit strategy in that lease. Sometimes you can do a 90-day buyout,
Yep.
type of thing. Does that exist in some leases?
So if a tenant is wishing to get out of their lease, one of the things that we do recommend to be put in the lease, and this is owner specific as well, is that you put in like a 60 or 90-day, you can do a buyout or just a letter of some sort, because you don't want someone that doesn't want to be there to be in an apartment. They'll destroy it.
Right.
And so you want to do...
Well, if you're trying to market and show it, they're not going to allow showings,
Right.
possibly, right? I mean,
Right. There's going to be a lot of
stuff
that happens that you're not going to want. So if
Yeah.
they want out, and we'll do the best to get them out, but you did sign a lease, so you should stay for a little while. But if it's something else, if it's like a family matter, or if they have to move because of work, or
Yeah.
then we try to do the best we can to get them out.
Right.
So, but there is a percentage of people that have, like, I started off with doing a 60-day, and now people who are asking for 90 days. So depending on what the owner wants.
And if there's not an exit clause in the lease, and it's a 12-month lease, there's also probably a notice that this tenant would have to give too if they're not going to extend past the 12 months, or do the leases normally have like a 60-day notice if you're going to move? So
Yeah, we usually
the
reach
landlord
out.
can mark it.
Yeah, we reach out to them just before the lease is, probably a month or two before the lease, and just give them a
okay,
heads up
yeah.
the lease is ending.
Yeah.
What were you thinking of doing?
Yep.
Do you want us to release you? Stuff like that. So we're
Right.
we're already talking to them
Okay,
about it.
2 months before. Okay,
Yeah.
let's say they want to be released. At that point,
Yep.
in that lease agreement, is there approval or say permission for the landlord to show the property while the tenant still lives in it, so they can kind of get somebody lined up when the tenant moves out? They can have immediate, occupancy again.
Yep, we can do that. We haven't really needed to, because the way the market's been,
Yeah.
as soon as someone moves out and we clean it up, it's usually rented.
rented, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
rented fairly quickly. So we haven't had that problem.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
There'll be this lag time. But yes, all of them do say, I think it's 48 hours Massachusetts wants. We tell them 24 hours in our leases that we'll give them heads up. But if it's a showing type of thing, we definitely will give them more time.
Yeah.
Like 72 hours to clean
Right.
the place up and
Sure.
do stuff.
Yep, good, makes sense. All right, Linda, so switching gears here on evictions, what can you tell us from the tenant side and the landlord side, like how do evictions work? What's, how do they come up? What's kind of the process?
We just assume everybody that pays late is going to get evicted, so we do an automatic 14-day notice. That has to be served by a constable now in Massachusetts, not so much in Rhode Island, but we do it on both sides. Yeah. And so they get that, and if they don't pay in that 14 days, then we do we go to court. We just go right down and put it in housing court. And we use a lawyer because we're a business, and the lawyer goes down there and we work out why you're not paying. If they have an excuse, then we try to work it out with them, because we don't want anybody to get kicked out their first time. Maybe it's, I don't know, something happened. Maybe they were getting a car accident or whatever it may be. But we do like them to tell us like what's going on. So if they don't say, hey, I had an issue, then we just proceed with this whole thing.
Right.
And if they do this 2 times in a row and they become like a tenant that just wants to pay late every month, then there is a clause now that they're going to start paying for this, because it's a $50 charge for a constable now, and then court fees and everything else.
Right.
And they're just doing it so they can pay late. So we just kind of frown upon that. So we do let them know that this is in their lease, and we'll put that on their ledger.
Yeah.
So that's what we do to start the eviction, and however the process works at court, there's so many different ways there to work it out. They do try to work with the tenants to try to pay and catch up on everything, and sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does. So,
And how long would an eviction be on a tenant's record?
I believe they're up for 5 years.
Okay.
Yep. So if you got evicted in the last 5 years, it's going to show when we do a credit check.
Yeah, so it's going to be difficult to get additional
We don't take anybody
units.
that's been evicted.
Yeah.
So if you've been evicted in the last 5 years, we will not even look at your application.
Security deposits.
Yep.
What are some of the, tenants are going to, vacate, clean the place, expect their deposit back, right?
Yep.
What are some of the reasons they wouldn't get their deposit either fully or partial what are kind of the inspections you do? Once they vacate, you come in and inspect the property?
Yep.
And how long do they have up until they, to get their, how long does it take for the payout for a security deposit?
Security deposits payout in Rhode Island is 20 days from move out.
Okay.
And in Mass, it's a 30-day.
30 days, okay.
Yep.
So it gives you a chance to go in, inspect.
Yep. And then if there's an issue, I can get somebody in there to give me a price on what it would cost to fix it.
Bring me through like regular wear and tear, things like that, I'm sure, doesn't fall under. What kind of falls
Yeah,
under
like
the...
regular wear and tear, like say if you had a rug and you got scuff marks in the rug, which really can't get out, stains and stuff like that. Like, people do candle stains, that's not wear and tear. But if you were walking and you had that, that like matted down area that you would
high
create.
traffic area.
Yeah, that's something you just can't change. So that's just not something we'd hold up against you.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff we would look at. A lot of times there's people that hang mirrors on the wall and it's a sticky thing and you can't get that sticky stuff off and it rips the wall, so that's a problem.
So you got drywall repairs and
the
that.
new thing now is those stickies for the hooks and stuff, the little, I forget the name of them, but the you pull the bottom.
Yeah.
And those they're all over the houses when you come in, but they don't always come off.
Right.
So you wind up doing a lot of repairs on those too. So I think I've tried the heating it with a hairdryer. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
So that's something that would fall under that.
Yeah, and the one I just had run into was someone that had put the baby safety locks on every cabinet, every drawer had them.
Yeah.
And it was the big block one that kind of connected in.
Sure.
Ruined all the cabinets.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't take them off, probably because they couldn't get them off.
Right.
So we did all the stuff. I had a person come in that knew about those things, try to take them off, and it just ruined the cabinets.
Gotcha.
So that was an unexpected expense on both sides,
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but we try to, get your security back. We try not to look at things. Like I said, the rug thing is a big thing because they rug in the bathroom, bedrooms a lot of time.
Yeah. I see like loose cabinets. I see doors missing off the cabinets. I see things like that.
Yeah.
I see holes in doors and walls.
They'll slam it into the wall in the back.
Like
If they tell us there's a problem with the wall, like because it had a handle go through it and it needed to be fixed, and we can have someone go in there and fix it beforehand. But if we get in there and we find that there's holes all over the place and stuff like that, then we're gonna we're gonna have to charge you to fix it.
So if I'm not mistaken, when you rent the property, you go through it with them, kind of like when you do get a rental car, right?
Yeah.
They walk you around. They
write it all
look
down.
through all the areas that have blemishes and things like that. They disclose what's wrong with it, so you have a starting point, kind of a baseline, right?
Yep.
You do that with rentals as well. You go through the property and go over some defects that the tenant knows about it. That way, when you do the inspection, when they move out, they're not being charged with things that were already there, right?
Yeah, we go through it with them because I bring them through and they say if they want the apartment or not, and then we go through the whole look at it, and then we'll go again when they move in and see if there's anything that is a problem.
Right.
And if there is, we'll fix it.
And then you note the things that weren't fixed. Maybe they weren't major things. They're just.
Yep.
So when they do
there's
move
a notice
out,
of conditions that is.
notice of conditions that they call it. Okay.
Yep. So we send that. It goes through every room, and we go through the whole. If we do a single family house, we usually photograph every area of the house.
Yeah.
I have this.
So it is like renting a car.
It is different. If it's an apartment, it's different. But if it's a full house, that's a way different animal.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
But that's helpful when you go into your final inspection when they move out. You're able to line up the records.
Yeah.
This was here. That wasn't here.
Yep.
Right? These are items that or could be up for discussion of the security deposit could go towards fixing some of these things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things we do put in the lease is that if there's anything going on with the apartment that's not normal, like not when you walked in, if it's changed, like the toilet's running, or the sink is dripping, or I don't know what it could be. The stove's not working. Let us know. We'll fix it.
Right.
But if you just let this go on, and then the owner gets a bill of like $10,000 because your toilet's been running for 3 months, that's on you because that's been a problem that needed to be fixed and you didn't tell us.
Right.
So that becomes a little bit difficult to swallow when you have a bill that big come through.
Right.
But yeah, so we try to go in probably twice a year and do a walkthrough. And if we pick it up then, that's fine. But if we really, they're their eyes and ears for us, so we need to know.
Right.
So we do encourage them to tell us.
What can you tell me about like the environment where, you have multiple families living under one roof, from a peaceful standpoint as far as like noise pollution, like cutoff times for things like that,
Yep.
What's your take on that?
So anytime you're in like a multifamily, you have that problem with noise pollution, I call it. Yeah.
Potential problem.
Yeah, potential problems,
Yeah.
because you have people that work different hours, and if you ever work the night shift and trying to sleep during the day and people are home, it's a tough thing, and I totally understand it. So we try to do our best to keep people aware that you got to keep the music down. You can't be blaring your stuff so all 3 floors hear you. So there is I think it's 10 o'clock on the weekends that we want absolute quiet, and then if there's some reason you're having a birthday party or something, just let the other tenants know, so that they can make other arrangements if they have to sleep or something. But we do try to keep the peace. We want everybody to live there and enjoy their space and not get too much uncomfortable with all the noise and stuff. But there is, I was talking about, I had this one tenant that actually, he had a drum set. And he had an apartment that was kind of like offset from the house. So we had this drum set in a bedroom, and he would just play every day.
Yep.
And it started bothering all the tenants, and they were complaining about it. So I asked him if he could play at different times.
He wasn't that good?
He didn't sound bad. I didn't think it was bad. So, but it was the timing. He would always play at 6 o'clock when everybody was eating. So I said, you got to pick a different time, because this is really bothering everyone. And he just wouldn't. So one of the tenants called the town, and the town came down with a noise decimal reader. And
Really?
Yep. And right outside the house stood there, and he was too loud. So they knocked on his door and told him he couldn't play. He was a cop doing it too. So he was told he can't play anymore. So he's not playing his
And
drums.
they showed him the
they showed
meter?
him the meter, and
Said you're over the limit?
He was over the limit. He immediately got on the phone and let us know what was going on. And I was like, I don't know what options you have now. If they told you, that's a town ordinance, so you have to abide by it.
Right. Huh.
So he didn't listen to my rules, and I had to keep telling him. And so that was the last straw.
Yeah.
So
We have to get some soundproof mats.
yeah, it's something. Yeah.
Just don't stick them to the walls.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's right.
That's it for me. It was very educational. I hope you guys got something out of this. If there's more questions you may have, and your coverage area is what, Mass and Rhode Island, or?
Yeah, we go from like Pawtucket, actually Warwick now.
Yeah, okay.
We go from Warwick all the way down to the Cape.
Okay.
It's kind of like Plymouth, Bristol.
And how about
then
like towards Boston, North area? How about that area? How far will you go up the?
we go up as far as we have High Park.
High Park?
High Park.
Okay.
And West Roxbury area.
All right. And what's the best way they can get a hold of you for any additional questions or services?
We have a website.
Excellent.
It's Propertunity Management Company.
How are we spelling that?
Propertunity. There you go, right there.
Do you see? You can zoom in on that.
It's like an opportunity for your property.
Oh yeah. Okay. Opportunity.
And we could be the opportunity you need if you
Yes.
want to do some investing. We can work with that.
Excellent.
Yep.
right.
And we're very available. We have a website. If you look up property management companies online, we should show up in the areas that we are involved in.
Yeah.
And they'll contact us right away. As soon as you go on there, it shoots right to us.
Well, thank you for your time. This was a great value, I think, not only to the consumers, but myself. Learned a few things as well, and I appreciate you coming by.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you too.
Appreciate it.